Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that is probably top of mind for pretty much every business owner, and that is how do we boost our profitability? And joining me today is Marcia Riner, and you may recognize Marcia as a return guest to the podcast. She has been on before in a fun group interview that we had done with Daryl Evans and Annie P. Ruggles. And today we are going to dive into Marcia's brilliance, which is helping people boost their productivity. She is a business growth strategist and exit planner and founder of Infinite Profit. She helps businesses to double their revenue, drive their growth, and maximize the value of their company. She is the host of the Profit with a Plan podcast. And fun fact, if you check out her podcast, you'll find an interview with me on that. So, Marcia, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Krista. This has been a long time coming, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I get the joy of talking to Marcia all the time. And so I'm so excited for her and I to have this conversation today because she is really an expert and a pro at all of the different ways to boost profitability. And so one of the first things I wanted to dive into is you have to see businesses making a lot of mistakes when it comes to profitability. So, what are some of the ones that are top of mind that for the listeners, they should be listening to say, am I doing that? Or is one of my clients doing that maybe I want to recognize?
Thanks for bringing that up because it is far too often that business owners have, created a business around their and I use this word jam, right? They had something that they did well in corporate or that they knew they could do better, and then they mistakenly wrapped a business around it, and in my view, jumped to the fifth floor, right? So they've forgotten about all these foundational pieces that just chip away at their profitability. And so I like to remind my business owners and my clients to kind of take a step back and let's build out that foundational piece a lot better, and then revisit the other sexier moves that most business owners want to chase, like kind of like AI right now. So yeah, it's that foundation piece that I find that they miss often. And what I mean by that is that there are really a couple of important areas that are often overlooked. And people get all squirmy when you use the word budget, right? But budget is simply just a forecasting tool. What were the expenses and revenue that you had before? What are your expenses and revenue that you have right now? And what would you like to have as revenue and expenses going forward? So, if we kind of get that stigma, the budget ickiness out of the way, and just look at our numbers and seeing what do we have coming in? How can we improve it? What do we have going out? How can we reduce it or maybe make it more effective? And then look at little incremental changes along the way that can make that better. And I mean, I can give you a list of, 7, 10, a dozen, 25, 50, but really, truly, it's very foundational. Let's just look at what we have coming in. How can we improve that? Look at what we have going out. How can we improve that? And then, the ever going phrase of, it's not what you make, but it's what you take home. That's really the numbers that we're looking at in non-CPA speak.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you shared the foundational piece because I find this as well. We both tend to work with already established successful businesses, but what I do find, no matter how long somebody has been in business, no matter how seasoned of a business owner they are, there tends to be a lot of foundational things that either were skipped or that were kind of forgotten as they've been growing their business.
Exactly. And I think when we look at our method, right? There are really two goals for your business: acquire a customer and produce a profit. And what I find is that I know it's really basic stuff, but what I find is that the business owner's so structured on acquiring that customer and delivering the product and, making it better, making it more, making it less money. Can I do this? Can I do that? That they forget about the profit side. And where they get in trouble is that they often look at the profit side as the taxes. How can I pay less taxes? And what that happens is that those tax deductions, that additional spending, the tweak here and tweak there that you make actually affects your bottom line. And sometimes, I know we're kind of in the heart of tax season right now, but sometimes it's okay to pay taxes because it shows that your company made money.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I made that switch, right? I started my businesses as product-based businesses. They're very expensive. You have a lot of expenditures up front. It was jewelry businesses, so I was pre-purchasing all of my collections, hoping that they would sell, right? It took me, unfortunately, a few seasons to figure out how to get them to sell, so I had a whole lot of debt that I was carrying, and there were a couple years that I got a refund, and I remember being super excited that I got a refund, and then I thought, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute." The refund is not the goal here. We want to actually, and I remember the first year I had to pay taxes. This is back, I don't know, almost like 20 years ago now. But I was so excited to actually have to pay taxes because I realized finally my business is profitable. I'm not losing money anymore.
Right. And yes, there are really smart ways to make sure that your profits look good. But when we think about it, when we're looking at our financials, our financial documents that tell us how our business is doing, there are three ways to look at it. You can look at it as the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is how you make your business look really profitable and really attractive in case you want to sell your company sometime, or you've got investors, or you need to go to the bank to borrow some money for an investment that you're going to make. Then you've got the bad, right? The bad is how you want to take every tax deduction possible so you can show the IRS that, you really didn't make much, so you're not making the taxes, right? So you're not having to pay the taxes. And then you've got the ugly, which is the general ledger, the in and out and in and out and in and out that goes on in your business. It's all the same numbers, but when you start to do the legal tweaks to your business, which is what all of your tax preparers are looking at, and all the little ways that you can make adjustments and depreciations and get some money back and invest over here or go buy that truck at the end of the year, right? It affects the bottom line. And the other real suck that we put on, or stress that we put on our business, is the other key is called a lifestyle, right? We run our cell phones, our car loans, our credit cards, our dining out, our vacation. Anybody who's a has a corporation will most likely take a vacation and write it off as a business meeting, right? As a to deduct it. We've got our spouse. One of the popular things that our tax preparer says is hire your kids to take out the garbage or do some work, and you can pay your kids. Well, that's all great for the tax side of your business, but all those lifestyle expenses really ought to be coming out of the owner pay, right? And not necessarily out of the business. So if you're going to pay yourself 100,000 and you ran 25,000 worth of fees through it, maybe you want to pay yourself 75,000, right? Now it's still all your money, but it's running through your business in a way that still allows the numbers to look profitable. And if you want the financing, if you want to buy the building, if you want to get an investment for equipment or whatever, you've got to have the cash flowing through your business in a way that looks good, that looks like you're a profitable business, instead of running everything through it and ending up with the famous "I want to die with zero money," right? That kind of thing. Because then your business literally dies every year. especially if you're looking at the opportunities that come along, right? Maybe there's an opportunity to buy some equipment or buy some inventory or make an investment somewhere or do something. You've got to have that money in your account. You shouldn't be pulling from your right pocket to pay, to put it back in. So having that cash running through your company is a good thing.
I agree. That's such a great point. And I feel like right now, too, one of the interesting opportunities is there's a lot of businesses that people can buy and invest in. And how great to actually have the reserves to be able to do that with.
Hey, that's another potentially passive income that you can have in your business if you buy um, another arm, we'll call it. Not a
Hmm.
whole completely new business. Like I don't want you selling real estate and go buy a supplements company. But if you're selling real estate and you buy an appraisal company or you buy a home inspection company or something that's logically natural complement to your business, then it's a fantastic investment that just increases your footprint and gives you multiple streams of income coming in.
Yeah, so smart. All right, so let's talk about profitable growth because I think a lot of times people get very enamored with the idea of growth. And you hear all the terms like explosive growth and all of these things, but people don't always stop to think about or think through the profit. And sometimes you can grow your business from a revenue perspective and actually kill your business from a profit perspective. So what are things that actually drive profitable growth as opposed to the growth that can sometimes get businesses in trouble?
Well, I kind of put the piece in. If you think of growth and scaling as kind of a partnership, right? So, growth is where you have a revenue boost. You've gone into a market, you've acquired new customers, you've had that boost. Then, often what happens that kills it or slows it down a little bit is that you now need to scale to support that growth, right? So, you're going to go hire somebody else. You're going to replace some plant equipment, something along those lines, which actually affects the profitability because now you have this new expenditure that comes on it. So if you can imagine the growth scale is kind of a Christmas tree model. You pop up, then you spread out, then you pop up and you spread out. And those combinations are perfectly aligned with a time, right? There's a measurement that you have on the growth margin that says that now you need to scale. And so sometimes the scaling gets overwhelmed and you scale too big where you don't have the growth to support it. So if that's not hopefully not too confusing, I mean there is a balanced or a choreographed dance that works really well with that. But back to your original question, when we're thinking about growth that is profitable, obviously you think of the revenue, right? I get more revenue. But the other part of that growth, the scaling side, is how do you invest somewhere that will help the growth to continue in a way that offsets the cost? So, as an example, you hire somebody new to help you support the growth that you've just occurred. Well, if you can hire that person and that person is producing more revenue, it could be sales, it could be supporting the sales team. That's a great way to look at how does that person or that expenditure produce an ROI? How do they get more money motivating out of that investment? And I think that's the best thing to do because we can invest in our marketing or we can invest in client acquisition, which is incredibly important. But looking at that investment, is it possible? Is it positive? So, did I spend $100 on ads and am I getting at least $200 of revenue? Or whatever your KPI is on that number, that key performance indicator that tells you you made the right move. Now, granted, there's always a curve. Sometimes it's a little, more spending than less getting. But after a short period of time, whatever that time margin is that you have, it's got to be on the positive level. Otherwise, there's always that I've got to cut it. There's that line that says, hey, it didn't work out. this person didn't work out, the investment on this equipment didn't work out, the investment in the marketing didn't work out. So at what time do you draw the line in the sand and cut that so it doesn't continue to drain the coffers?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. And I keep thinking about, right, profitable growth great, but I see a lot of businesses, especially last year and even going into this year, where a lot of that growth got impacted. People are either plateaued, they're stalled, some people rewound, and really the things that had been working previously to grow their business stopped working for them. And so people are at all of these really interesting inflection points in their business, trying to figure out, how do I grow? And so, for a business that maybe is at that plateau point, do you have any tips that you regularly share with your clients to get them through that?
Okay, here's another one. It's kind of like that budgeting thing. It's called a plan. And it's often time to reevaluate the plan. See, I'm a huge believer in planning, and I believe your business plan needs to have prime real estate on your desk, literally. It should not be one of those things like an insurance policy that you fill it out, you get approved, you send the check in, and it goes in the drawer. You actually need to revisit your plan. I prefer on at least a monthly basis. For those of you that just can't stomach it, quarterly basis, but no longer than a quarter. Because what happens is business cycles change, markets change, customers' needs change, business cost of doing business changes. And if you're not able to be nimble and flexible and move, then you're going to be stuck in that, uh-oh, I should have done something before. So, what I like to do with my customers and my clients is to sit down and go, okay, did this work? Are we on path for what we said we were going to do? What in the industry changed? And let's adjust. Let's make little adjustments. Do we need to spend more over here or spend less over here? Do we need to go after this client or do we need to go after that client? Or should we be moving into the next market? Right? These are all questions done by reviewing your plan. And again, that's the foundational kind of stuff that people often forget. They do their plan in January and think, "Woohoo, check done," right? But never revisit it. And if it's open on your desk, right, and it's a monthly activity that you take an hour of your month on a Friday morning or a Friday afternoon, where you kind of go in and go, "All right, let's bring the team in. Did you achieve your objective you wanted to do?" Check. Was there any improvements we could have made on that? Check, right? And just asking those questions to reevaluate and make sure we right the boat in the direction that it needs to go in. That's probably the biggest thing that business owners forget about that could make huge impacts on their profitability and their bottom line and making sure that they're on track before something terrible happens. Oh, and they can't change it.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm a big believer in planning as a whole. So I definitely agree. And so often, I think you are right. People will either avoid planning entirely because they think it's too restrictive or it's just going to change anyway. And I think it's a lot of times they haven't found a planning framework that works well for them, for their business, in their culture. Or they will create a plan and they will invest the time and they probably have best of intentions at the time, but then it collects digital dust somewhere, never to be looked at again until maybe the end of the
Exactly.
year when someone says, "Hey, did we achieve those goals that we set?"
And that's it. It's always that I think is the biggest thing. So I came out of financial services for years and I always used the term that hope was not a plan, right? You had to get in and you had to lay out, where am I going? What do I need to do to get there? And at what point do I know that I've achieved my milestones along the way? And where should I cut my losses and go someplace else, right? And the only way you could do that is by working off of a plan. And I think people think it's like It's that fuzzy, warm stuff like, "Oh, our vision and our mission and our mantra, and we have" no, it's like, and it's also not the polar opposite of that, of saying, "We're gonna make $1,000,000. We made 100,000 last year, but we're gonna make 1,000,000 this year." Is that achievable? Having a solid, strong, really workable, feasible plan that everybody's on board with, from the receptionist to the actual deliverer of the product. Sometimes even getting your customers to buy in on your plan helps too. And I know that's kind of odd, but there's ways to get advisory help from your customers as to whether this is possible or feasible, right? But I think that that's a really super tool that is often overlooked.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so, for those businesses that maybe are in a great place where they're growing or their growth has been steady enough, what are some of your favorite tips or your favorite techniques to actually boost their profitability and look beyond just revenue?
There's a couple ways that you can boost revenue, really. Is if you have existing customers, how can you maximize the average, we'll call it cart value, right? How do you get more money out of your existing clients? And then the second one is, how do you get more money out of your new clients, right? Um, and I think that when we look at that, existing clients, you can get opportunities to bring them back and purchase again. You can get them to buy more each time. You can get them to buy the next logical item that would help them improve their results even better. This is for product as well as service. And I think when we're understanding our new clients, understanding what it is that they came to you for in the first place. What was that initial purchase that they made with you? And analyzing that will help you bring in more of those people. So there are some tricks to do it. I'd love to say, let's just go back to the budget and cut costs, you know, but really looking at how to increase the lifetime value of each one of your customers, and serve them in a way that they're going to be more loyal to you, and come back to you more often, because this isn't going to be a surprise, but competition's stiff. There's a lot of people out there doing what you do.
That there are, and more of them by the day.
Right, right. So that's a huge value booster as well. If you can increase the loyalty and the lifetime value, meaning how much the customer is going to spend with you over a period of time, then you're able to make more. And it's always cheaper to have a client come back or a customer come back than it is to go out and acquire a new customer.
Absolutely. So I think you have a guide for the listeners that helps with profitability. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your work, what you're doing, and about the guide that you have for everyone?
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. I created a little worksheet that turned into a mini novella. Literally, I say it because I went, ooh, I want to add a little more here and a little more there. It's literally 25 pages. So I've written 3 books that are 100 to 200 pages each, and then this one here turned out to be, instead of a couple pages, 25. So am I a blowhorn? Maybe, but it's really great. It's giving you 5 solid strategies with the actionable tactics to achieve it, and some guidance along the way to help you really put it in momentum. And it's available. It's a download. It's free. It's been a lot of fun to create it. It's pretty. I like it. I made it in Canva, but it is Profit Booster Playbook, and it's available at boostingprofit.com. And it is my gift. It's a way to really kind of talk about the things that are working right now in businesses. And more importantly, you're looking at it and saying, well, do I really need that other thing if it's not working? This is really the focus that I think is really important for business owners, to really focus in on the things that are working these days.
Fantastic. And where can people connect with you? Where can they find a little bit more about your work and what you have going on?
Awesome. So my company is Infinite Profit. You can find it at Infinite Profit Consulting. I'm all over social, so you'll find me anywhere at Marcia Riner, but you can always find them there. And if it's all right, I think we have something really cool coming up here shortly that listeners probably want to know about. We've put together a really powerful opportunity to learn from three of the best, and you're in there, I'm in there, and our friend Daryl's in there, and we're talking again about accelerating and growing your business. And so, if you go to Join Accelerate Now, we're doing a really powerful workshop coming up, and I think you guys want to join on that. So,
Yeah, you definitely want to get registered for that. Again, we're doing it for free right now. It's actually going to be a paid event in the future, but for right now we decided to do the first one for free. And it's Daryl Evans, it's the lovely wonderful Marcia, and it's myself, and we are going to be talking all about some really great ways to accelerate your growth, to accelerate your profitability now, given the current landscape and some of the current challenges that a lot of businesses are facing. So I'm excited to do that with you. And for
me
all of you
too.
listening, I hope that you will join us and be a part of the experience.
I love
All
it.
right.
Thank you. This has been a great opportunity. I hope your listeners found out a couple of really cool ideas that I usually end my podcast with that. Hey, I hope you found some ideas that you can put into your business that'll be more profitable, right? And that's exactly what, I think the power of podcasting and really having this conversation does for folks. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I want to learn more about them. And so your service as being a podcast host has been incredible. So thank you.
Awesome. I have one final question for you. Question I ask everybody, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And that is, in your business, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean?
Lean is so valuable. Again, when you're talking about profitability, that's it. If you can lean out, if you can do things that don't cause waste, that can improve the processes and production that you have in there, you're going to make your life a lot better, a lot easier, and the bottom line's going to be really helpful. So I think looking back and just reevaluating as frequently as you can and looking at those key performance indicators to say, am I on point? Right? And so if I go back to that one instead of throwing out a whole new idea in it, but if you can really just monitor those key performance indicators, build them, review them, adjust them, keep doing it, keep looking at them. That's really the piece that I wholeheartedly believe in.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a valuable practice. So I love that technique. Thank you so much, Marcia, for being here. It was wonderful having you share all of your brilliance and wisdom on the show. I hope you all got a ton of value out of this episode. And please do check the show notes below for the links to check out Marcia and to join us for Accelerate Now. Thanks so much. We'll see you again next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you uplevel your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.